Good evening, my fellow friends, my fellow neighbors, and my fellow shining stars. The next trolley stop is here. The next trolley stop is now. Welcome back to an all-new episode of the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight Series. Welcome to episode number 96, to be precise, of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. My name is Jonathan Masiulionis, president here at Empowered Publicity. Thank you so much for spending some time with us wherever you are and wherever you may be. This is going to be a very special trolley stop as our Christmas countdown continues. Say that 10 times fast. The Christmas countdown continues, along with the countdown to the 100th episode of the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight Series, which is T-minus less than 1 month away. For all of those who are tuning in, our listeners, our viewers, our friends, our neighbors, our fellow shining stars on the East Coast, shortly after 7 o'clock Eastern Time, Monday evening, the 16th of November, 2020. And of course, a special hello to all of our friends, neighbors, shining stars, listeners, and viewers out on the West Coast, especially those out here in San Diego, California, shortly after 4 o'clock Pacific time. Now, the holidays are officially upon us. I think it's safe to say that anytime after Halloween, it's okay to be in the Christmas spirit. Some people partake in Christmas in July, but very much so, the holidays are officially upon us. And so it's very easy to fall into the mindset of focusing on what you're hoping to get, what you're hoping to receive from your family, your friends, and your loved ones. But one of our favorite neighbors is here to remind all of us that this holiday season, it's not about what you're given that's important, but what you choose to give from your heart to others. And of course, leave it to a brand new heart-centered children's book to show the way for us, the brand new release, A Reindeer's Christmas. It is now available. You can head on over to Amazon.com. You can also head on over to the official website of our featured guest here on episode number 96 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series, making her triumphant return to the program. I might add as well, too, you can head on over to her official website. We've enclosed it in the comments below on Tanglefordknock.co.uk. It's interesting because, even though things are kind of still what they are collectively, you can actually go across the pond and you don't even need to hop on an airplane. You can log on to Tanglefordknock.co.uk. One of our favorite neighbors, one of our featured children's authors here at Empowered Publicity, Tamsin Wood, is joining us here as our featured guest on episode number 96 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. Tamsin, we appreciate your free time, spending some time with us once again here in our neighborhood. How are things with you and your family in the UK? And thank you for staying up late with us as well, too.
We're all very well, thank you, Jonathan. It's great to see you again.
It is. And it feels like so much has happened since you've last joined the program. The world's a little bit different to a certain extent, right? But we're all doing our part, especially around the holiday season. And this is, the typical holiday season. Everyone's like, well, Christmas and togetherness and things of this nature. I feel that this Christmas, depending upon your situation, one's life situation, what one is going through, someone may have lost a loved one, nearly, at least here, I believe it's in the United States alone, nearly 300,000 people over the past 8 months have lost their lives. People have lost their jobs. People have lost their sanity to a certain extent as well, too. And so for some people that may not necessarily have been impacted by the pandemic and by COVID as much, it's just a little bit of a shift or a little change here or there. For some people, it's completely different. When you put together this book, COVID was just, it hadn't come to fruition just yet. Could you share with us, especially now looking at it from your perspective, where you're at right now, from the collective perspective, why it was important for you to share this particular message, not just because it's a Christmas book, not just because it's the cool thing to do to talk about Christmas books around the holidays, but the fact that all of your books have such a deep and profound meaning for children, for parents, and for families. So why do you feel this message right now?
I think the thing that most of us have come out of 2020 with is the feeling that we need to appreciate what we have, not think about what we want. We've all taken a look at what we are blessed with rather than sitting there longing for something that we do not have. And people's dreams have changed. People's ideals have changed. What people are content with has changed. What people are longing to, what they're striving towards has changed. Everybody is different because they maybe appreciate life a bit more. They realize how fragile and how precious it is. And this is something that I want this book to show, is that it's the simple gifts in life that are the most important.
I feel that, many of us, and a lot of times it comes from, well intentions, like we have this Christmas list and we want to make sure that we get something for, mom, dad, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. We want to make sure it's the perfect gift, right? We want to make sure that that person likes it. And then simultaneously, we have these grandiose visions of getting all of these really superfluous bells and whistles. And we're going to be talking more in our time together this week on the Children's Book Spotlight series, why it's not to say those things aren't nice, that they're maybe not as necessary, and there are things that have a more a profound impact on us in terms of what is coming into our lives for the holiday season, if this makes sense. The story itself I find absolutely adorable and precious on so many levels. And it seems, we had the opportunities last week to be able to interview Jonathan Stutzman and Heather Fox on the Children's Book Spotlight series, and we talked about their brand new release, Santa Baby. And it's very interesting because in their book, Santa Baby, Santa's just kind of had it, right? He's just kind of like saying, you know what, maybe I'll come back Christmas time, next year roll around. And in a little bit of a different instance, and I actually want to share just the first passage of your book, if I may. On the very first Christmas a long time ago, it was freezing outside and had started to snow. Poor old Santa was stuck. He'd got caught in a drift. He was literally frozen and quite miffed. See, it goes on to say that he was, trying to lose some weight and things of that nature. But it's very interesting. Without giving too much away of a reindeer's Christmas, we tend to think that Santa's reindeer, on Dasher, on Dancer, on Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. Of course, one of our favorite neighbors, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, that they've been kind of with Santa since day one almost. And the story kind of shares a little bit of an interesting twist with the fact that, thanks to a little boy named Sean, if I'm not mistaken, that, Santa happens to come across some new friends that help him out to do what he's meant to do for Christmas. Could you share this a little bit more about the story and how it's not necessarily the traditional Christmas story?
It was inspired by the famous poem, "'Twas a Night Before Christmas," because that is one of my favorites. It's one of my earliest and favorite memories of Christmas was reading this poem with my parents sat by the fire in my pajamas on Christmas Eve. And I just love it because it embodies everything magical and traditional and beautiful about Christmas. And it applies to everyone. There's something in there that touches everyone. And I defy anyone, even the most miserable people who don't like Christmas, not to love that poem and everything that it has inside of it. And that was what I really wanted to do. But I wanted to put my spin on it. Obviously, it rhymes because I rhyme everything I write. And I wanted to just add a little something personal in there. And there are a few very personal touches in the story. The little boy, the story is actually dedicated to an uncle in our family, Sean. An absolutely fantastic guy, full of fun, full of joy, kindest guy you could meet. And it's based on him when he was a little boy. And also there's little touches in there I don't know whether you've seen, but on the label, the letter, Santa's naughty and nice list, that actually contains names of real people. My kids, I hope they're on the nice side of the list, not the naughty side, and their friends. And I just wanted to really bring that story closer to people and make them feel more a part of it, and it feel a little bit more real.
Very much so. And some of my favorite illustrations I just actually wanted to mention and to be able to also share. You can kind of tell, and it's interesting because, you know, my locale is a little bit different than the previous 38 years of my life. I'm not going to see snow on Christmas, right? So it's kind of interesting because by reading A Reindeer's Christmas, I can see what snow looks like. It seems, you know, one of the favorite illustrations that I have, it almost seems like there is this strong bond that's established very quickly, very early on between Sean and Santa. And Sean's holding some kind of a lantern, it looks like, and he's really leading the way for Santa. And it's interesting because, you know, many people think that adults, you know, are leading the way for children, and there's truth to that. But this kind of brings me to the next point. I feel that this was, you know how you can line up 10 different children, talk about the same book, and you'll get 10 different responses. One of the things I feel that I learned from A Reindeer's Christmas is that the importance of children leading the way this holiday season. Could you elaborate further about that? I know that the message, it wasn't necessarily directly talked about in the book, but this is something that just kind of came to mind, that I feel that, you know, with everything that's still kind of happening in the world right now, the fact that adults, we can tend to take life way too seriously. And I think it's important to be able to allow the children to lead the way this holiday season and beyond. Could you share your thoughts on that if you could?
Absolutely. I think you've hit the nail right on the head there, Jonathan, and you've said it perfectly. Children bring us adults back to childhood. They bring us back to magic. They bring us back to that place where we can escape to dreams and hopes and joy and all the things that we maybe forget when we're stuck in real life, and all the traumas and trials and tribulations, especially that this year has thrown at so many people. And it's so wonderful that Christmas brings out that magic and that ingredient that kids can kind of wallop you in the face with and say, you know, come on, believe, it's real. And the look on their face of absolute belief in Santa Claus and absolute belief in the magic of Christmas, you know, it can soften even the hardest of hearts. You know, it's like similar to A Christmas Carol, where Scrooge starts off the most miserable, miserly, mean old man, and by the end of the story, he's just full of the joy of Christmas. And you see this, it's a kind of reoccurring theme in every Christmas story that you read, that, you know, the magic is there, you just have to find it. And children are wonderful at bringing that out within us.
This is something that I was actually wanting to save towards the latter part of our interview, but I think everything that you share, and you shared it so eloquently, I'm probably going to channel my own inner Lumpy. Now, Lumpy is the nickname of Bill Murray's character, Francis Xavier Cross, in the 1989 Christmas beloved classic, Scrooge. The scene at the end of the film, and I get chills talking about this, Tamsin. He kind of goes off on like a holiday channeled tangent that basically says there are people that are having trouble making their miracle happen. And I feel that there's something about, two things come to mind, and I would love for you to be able to articulate and kind of unpack each of these one at a time. I feel that there's something about children's books. This tends to be a running theme with every children's book spotlight series interview that I've done, all 96 of them. The fact that there's so much healing energy and magic inside children's books. You could be going through something, you could be going through a little challenge, you could be going through a large problem or a life transition. And you can open up a children's book, and for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it seems like it provides a cathartic effect almost. You can suspend the disbelief of whatever it is that you're going through, and you even feel like miracles can happen. So to talk to our listeners and viewers about the power of children's books, helping people to make their Christmas miracle happen, and from your perspective as a children's author, but also as a parent, for those parents that are feeling challenged and are wondering, how can we have a great Christmas for our kids with everything that's happening? What are some ways that you can, some words of encouragement that you can share, especially with the parents that are tuning in, along with the educators who are doing their part to help students out across the country and around the world, to help them make their Christmas miracle happen? Let's start with the children's books aspect first.
Well, obviously, every author, especially every self-published author, wishes that people will buy their books. That's my Christmas wish. I want everyone to buy my Christmas book, but not just because it will help put money in my pocket, food on my table. I want people to buy my books because my books have a message that I want to share with kids, with their parents, that I want to reach out to people, and I want them to feel as if I've given them a gift personally into their hands. And I want them to take that gift away, and I want them to still be reading those books in years to come. I want those books to get dusty and ragged on their bookshelves and still be pulled out in 10, 20 years' time when they read to their own children. I want adults to realize that it's not the expensive gifts that matter, it's the simple gifts. And there's one illustration in my book, which is a present being opened. And there's nothing inside the box except words coming out. But those words are not just words. They're real feelings, they're emotions, and they're things that you cannot put a price on. Joy, happiness, peace, love. Those are the gifts that we want to give to our children. Those are the gifts that will be most important to our children, supporting them through difficult times, listening to them when they need to be heard, helping them through difficulties. Those are the gifts they want, not the ones that cost hundreds of pounds, because those will get put out in a year or 2 years in a yard sale and end up in somebody else's garage collecting dust. The gifts that we want to give, the gifts that are really, truly important, are the gifts that literally keep on giving. And when we give those gifts to our children, we're building them, we're strengthening them, and we're making them into the adults of the future. And that is what is really important with these books. These books, the lessons that they contain, the messages that they carry, these are all going to build the children who read them. They're going to strengthen the children who read them, and they're going to help them far more than the latest iPhone or a fancy computer. So,
and then when it comes to the words of encouragement for parents and for educators who may feel like they're at their wits' end, who are wondering if miracles even exist, so to speak, what would be some words of encouragement that you can share with them to help them, to help their children, their students, receive their Christmas miracle?
I think hold on, just never let go. Never let go of that hope that the world can be better, that we can all be better, that no matter what bad you see in the world, no matter how low you get, no matter what things may happen to you, there is always a way forward. There is always going to be someone there to reach out and take your hand. There's always going to be someone there listening. And just to always look for that light. You talked about the lantern that the little boy is carrying, and he's carrying that lantern for people to see, for people to reach out towards and to take hold of.
And I feel that light that's within the lantern, that's a reminder of the light that we have inside.
Yes.
And it's very easy, when we think of, depending upon what area of the world you live in, if you're in, North America, for example, this is the time where we tend to have more darkness than daylight. You know, it starts with daylight savings time just happening. It's starting to get, you know, here on the West Coast, you know, around 5:30 or so, it starts to get a little darker, so to speak. And I think that there's, when we realize that we have this inner light within us, we can choose peace. We can choose to ensure that our inner light stays on, because it's very easy to want to extinguish that flame, or other people come in and they want to extinguish our flame. And this kind of reminds me, it's interesting because one of my favorite Christmas albums, I'm not sure if you remember Peter, Paul, and Mary, the famous folk group from the 60s and 70s and 80s. They had a Christmas holiday special. Well, they called it a holiday celebration. It was taped in the mid to late 80s, and it aired every year on PBS for many years afterward. And there is this song called, I'm not sure if it's Don't Let Your Candle Go Out or something like that, but this beautiful visual, there's this child that comes on stage with one of those dollar candles, right? And it's lit up, and he goes and he takes, and he's passing the candle to the other children there. And there's children, there's adults, there's senior citizens, and they're all singing together about the importance of not letting your candle go out. So these are just several messages that we're sharing with all of you, no matter how young you may be or how old you may be. These are very important and timely messages, not only for this holiday season, but beyond. Again, our featured guest here on episode number 96 of the Children's Book Spotlight series, Tamsin Wood, we are sharing her brand new release, A Reindeer's Christmas. It is now available. You can head on over to her official website, which we have in the comments below, on canglefordknock.co.uk. Of course, you can purchase any one of Tamsin's other fantastically amazing children's books as well. One of them, I'm actually super excited to be able to share this. We had the opportunities to share this on the Empowered Publicity Storytime with Mr. Jonathan not that long ago. But Always With Me, which has actually just recently been featured on Kidlit TV's Read Out Loud. And we're going to include the link for that in the comments below, so that, you know, we're doing our part. We're focusing on Christmas, but there's other things to be able to talk about as well, too, because Tamsin has been very busy in 2020, and she's going to be extremely busy in 2021 as well, too. There's going to be a couple of the things that she's done that we're going to be sharing as well, too, in the process. It's interesting because I credit, of all people, I think this was my Aunt Audrey that had mentioned this to me at some point in time. I might have been older, I might have been younger. And she had mentioned to me, you know, Jonathan, there's two spellings of the word presence. There's P-R-E-S-E-N-C-E and P-R-E-S-E-N-T-S. Now, when we think of Christmas, we think of gifts. We think, you know, and, you know, even if you necessarily don't believe in Christmas, you know, you've got Hanukkah. It's, you know, as they say, it's 8 crazy nights. So it's 8 days of presents. There's also Kwanzaa. There's different other holidays that people celebrate in terms of, you know, getting into the holiday spirit. But one of the things I feel that COVID and the pandemic has taught us is there's a huge difference between the two, even more so than we figured beforehand. Could you talk to our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, about the importance of presence, P-R-E-S-E-N-C-E, versus presence, P-R-E-S-E-N-T-S, amid the current climate?
I think just, it's amazing the difference you will see on a child's face between when you give them something in fancy wrapping that will maybe very quickly go into the cupboard or get put to one side, or, you know, whatever they'll do with it. But the time that you will spend, the hours that you can sit doing something with your child, reading a book together, talking to one another, doing an activity where you are interacting with one another. And those are the moments that our children will remember. Those are the moments that are important. And it is so, so imperative that in the middle of busyness, of craziness, of all the things going on in the world, that we make that time every day, even if it's just for half an hour, to sit with our kids and just be present. They are going to remember that so much more than that gift that you bought them that cost you however much money, that you maybe stood in line at the store for hours. They will remember that time that you spent with them. They will remember that day that you came home from work early. They will remember that day that you said, you know what, I was going to do such and such, but I'm not going to do that. It's like with the laundry. The laundry will still be there for me tomorrow and the next day and the next day. If the house gets a little bit dusty, so what? It doesn't matter. But to sit with my kids and spend time with them, time that once it's gone, you never get back. And I think that's something that people forget, is that you can't go back and say, we'll have that time again another day, because it won't be the same, because it's not it's a different day. It's further into the future. And you need to take those precious moments now. That's what we need to concentrate on. We need to focus on the now, not what's going to happen in 3 months, 6 months, or a year, because we just don't know that. I mean, we don't even know potentially what's going to be happening in another 3 weeks at Christmas. Some people are worrying whether they'll get to spend time with family because of lockdowns and things that are being imposed in different areas, in different countries, whether their loved ones are still going to be here for them. And we need to make the most of that time now. That's what's most important. That is what matters more than anything else.
What also, and thank you for sharing that, Tamsin. I feel to add to, if I may, to what it is that you had shared, is the fact that it's important, if there's something that you want to share from your heart. You know, many people are afraid of what it is that they want to say. And I know that, you know, I can sense that there's people that are tuning in across the country and around the world that maybe if they have an estranged relationship from a loved one, with a loved one, maybe they haven't talked to them in a long period of time. And there's a part of them that just wants to, you know, pick up the phone and say, I'm thinking of you. You can take the time to do that. And maybe even if you don't feel comfortable with doing that, you know, take the time to connect with them in prayer. You know, if you're a prayer kind of person, if you're a meditation kind of person, there's different things that we can do to be able to make practical use of our time and our presence as well too. We're realizing that, and I'm going to paraphrase Ferris Bueller, when he said that, you know, it's important that you take the time to enjoy life, because eventually you're going to miss it. He probably said it in, you know, he said it in his Ferris Bueller way, right? I'm channeling Ferris Bueller, I guess, but I'm kind of not doing him the due diligence and the due justice. But it's so important, because you're right. The presents are great. The trinkets are awesome. You know, there's nothing wrong with getting a great trolley for Christmas. You know, certain gifts will stand the test of time. But I tend to think, you know, it's long since been said that when someone transitions, when someone passes on, that when people gather together at someone's funeral or a wake or memorial service, one of the main things that they will remember is how that person made them feel. They might not necessarily say, well, you know, Steve gave me, you know, $500 when I needed $500 to take care of some bills, right? It'll be more than likely, you know, Steve reminded me to take the time to love myself more. He encouraged me when I was down. And, you know, one of the things that we always love to do here on the Children's Book Spotlight series, and we're kind of bringing this up a little bit earlier in the rotation, so to speak, tonight. One of our favorite friends and neighbors, of course, Mr. Rogers, from the other side, he's still very much doing this from afar. He reminded all of us during his time here on Earth, when he received his Lifetime Achievement Award at the Daytime Emmys, he encouraged all of us to take the time to remember those who helped love us into being. And I feel that there's a perfect synergetic relationship with that, because when you're focusing on the presence and how people make you feel, Tamsin and I, we encourage all of you, whether it be if you're tuning in live or you're catching us on the replay, the archive edition of the program, to just take the time, 5 seconds, 30 seconds, even take some time during the course of a whole entire day to remember those that helped love you into being. It'll definitely put a smile on your face, and wherever that person is, either here or far, there's no doubt that they'll be shining brightly in the process. It's very interesting because, you know, what I was actually looking for, there's a book that I have, and I'm wondering what I did with it, but it's interesting because it was a book about St. Francis of Assisi. And the theme of this week's children's book spotlight series was kind of taken from that. And I feel if a person is religious or spiritual, or they worship at the altar of Santa Claus, it's become like a 2-week thing now. When I was mentioning with Jonathan and Heather last week, there's probably people who worship at the altar of Santa Claus, right? You know, that St. Francis had said, "For it is in giving that we receive." And I think that many of us who have this conditioned old mindset, we might say, well, how is that possible? I like to receive. Maybe we were doing more of the receiving and the taking more so than the giving. With where we are right now, Tamsin, what does that phrase mean to you? It's not just spiritual lexicon. It's not just jargon. What do you feel that message is for us all for the holidays? For it is in giving that we receive.
I think we all feel so much better seeing the reaction on someone's face when we give them something that truly matters to them, that genuinely makes them feel that we've taken the time to get to know them, to get to understand what really makes them happy, what will genuinely make them come alive. And to give somebody a gift, no matter what that gift might be, that makes them feel that you've taken the time to think what they will really appreciate, what they will really benefit from. That is what matters most. And we go back again and again to this sense of giving somebody a gift, not for its monetary value, but for the value of what it can give to that person within their heart, within their soul, that it can bring something out of them. You could give, for example, my daughter got given an empty notepad and a pen set about 2 years ago. All she does now is write. She copies me. She wants to be a writer. And all she does is scribble stories. But it was just a simple jotter book and a set of pens. And it was one of her favorite gifts because it just gave her that. It was the tools to release her imagination. She had all this stuff inside of her that wanted to come out. And now she has the means to let that out, and it just pours out like a waterfall, and it's amazing to see. And it's gifts like that that are really important. It's for my son, he loves wildlife, to give him something, a spyglass we bought for him, and he gets to watch the animals now, and he gets such simple pleasure, simple joy from doing something that he loves. And it is that simple joy of giving somebody something. We might not appreciate it when we give it to them. We might think, why do you want this? It's boring, or I wouldn't like it, I wouldn't wear it, I wouldn't use it. But if it gives them so much pleasure, that's what we're giving them. We're giving them that freedom, we're giving them that release, we're giving them that tool to better themselves, or to let themselves be a better, bigger, more of a person than they were before.
And it's something that's been proven. When you take the time to do, and again, you know, especially now when you hear the term random act of kindness, it sounds like so cliche. When you take the time to do something good for someone, and I know that, you know, people may feel challenged, especially right now, because it's very easy to kind of slide into the what's in it for me before how may I serve mentality. And I was actually speaking with one of my friends out in Los Angeles earlier today, and she had mentioned to me something about the effect of, and she had learned this from Michael Beckwith, who operates the Agape Spiritual Center in Los Angeles, to give until it becomes a regular way of being. And you take the time and you see how good you feel, and you give without expectation, because I feel it's very easy to kind of have this old school abacus in front of you and keep score, right? Like an accountant. Okay, well, I gave, 2 good things to this person, so this must mean 3 good things are coming back to me. It's not the way the universe works. I like to feel that, the universe is like a boomerang, right? And if you put good out into the world, it'll make its way back to you. It might be a day, it might be a week, it might be a year, but you have to trust the fact that if you're putting more good out into the world, that it will work itself out in the process. I feel that the word community, Tamsin, holds an even more special place in our hearts now. As the result of our extended quarantine, the lockdown, whatever terminology a person feels comfortable in using, depending upon where you live, we've been able to become closer with those in our community. We don't necessarily feel the need to, travel 3 hours or 5 hours to a certain extent, because some of us haven't been able to do that, or it just doesn't resonate with us at all anymore. And it's interesting because I had the pleasure of interviewing David Sable. He's a fantastic children's author. He wrote the children's book, What Would You Wish For? By Zonder Kids. You can check that out on the Children's Book Spotlight series. That interview is now available. And David does tremendous work being on the board of directors for the Special Olympics and for UNICEF. And he talked about how, as the result of the pandemic, and this was months ago, but as the result of the pandemic, that we would all begin to remember and reconnect with our neighborhood, that neighborly feeling within us and our own immediate neighborhood. So this leads me into my next question, Tamsin, is how can we express gratitude and grace and kindness in our community during this holiday season?
I think we need to be aware. I think we need to not just look at people and just merely see faces. We need to take a real good look at the person behind that face. Somebody who wears a smile when they go out of the house may be going through a lot. And it's down to us to ask these people, how are you doing? Are you okay? If we've not seen somebody, little things like if we've not seen someone on Facebook for a couple of days, and they're usually on there posting, and then they go really quiet, message them and just say, hey, you've gone a bit quiet. Are you all right? It's those little things that really matter. It's maybe just posting a little note through somebody's door just to say, I'm here. If you need me, give me a call. That can make all the difference. And it's those little gestures, but very simple gestures, that make all the difference. And when we look at people, we need to realize that maybe on the outside, they have a picture perfect life. They have it all seemingly figured out and they look like they've got it all together. But on the inside, they could be breaking and they just need somebody, anybody, just one person to just check on them and make sure they're okay. And that's community. And it doesn't matter whether you live on the opposite side of the world. If you see somebody that just looks like their tone of their posts is a little bit sad, just message them and say, hey, how you doing? Are you okay? Do you need to chat? It takes 2 minutes, but it could mean all the world to them because they could be stuck at home. They could have not been out the house for 6 weeks. They could have not seen or talked to a single soul. And just that one person connecting with them and reaching out to them could make all the difference. And while I'm on here and I just remember, I just want to say hi to Laurie in America because she's watching and she's just posted that she's there watching, and I just want to say hi, and to everybody else in the community who might be watching and who's kept in touch during the pandemic. Thank you so much. It's lovely to know that people on the opposite side of the pond are just there, just at 3 o'clock in the morning when I can't sleep and I need to chat, and there's somebody on the opposite side of the world who's awake, including you, Jonathan. So thank you so much.
Tamsin, I feel that you touched upon something, something very important, and that's the fact that we tend to think that our community is just our immediate surroundings, our physical surroundings, so to speak, and that's not the case. We tended to think beforehand that our family is necessarily just our blood family. And, some people use the term soul family, right? And I feel that, one of the blessings, one of the silver linings about social media, and there are a few, you have to kind of weed out, all the other negative energy and stuff like that about social media, but it can be a wonderful place to connect, for a place of support as well too, because again, especially people are going through a lot, whether it be small, medium, large, or extra large size, so to speak. This actually brings up a very touching story on my end of things. I'll just kind of paraphrase this as best as I can. I tend to believe that people come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I can remember, around the time when my grandmother passed away, which is a little over 7 years ago, when I was going through quite a bit, and different points in time during the, after that, there were people that came into my life for what it just may have looked like a fleeting moment, or a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and they held the space for me when I was going through something. They looked beyond what I may have been going through on the surface, or what it is that I was releasing and trying to heal, and they saw my heart. And I think it's important, when we're talking about expressing gratitude and grace and kindness in your community, to take the time to release judgment. I think that's very important, because as the expression goes, you don't know someone unless you walk a mile in their shoes. And we don't know what people are going through. And I think it's very important and it all starts within, to take the time to be kind to yourself, to not judge yourself, to love yourself. And then you're able to do that more and more and more, which is such a good feeling. In the words of Mr. Rogers, of course. We're beginning to wind down our time again with Tamsin Wood, our featured guest here on episode number 96 of the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight Series. Her brand new release, A Reindeer's Christmas. It is now available. You can head on over to her official website, which we have in the comments below, on canglefordknock.co.uk. You can simply click the link below in the comments. You can also head on over to Amazon.com. While on Amazon, if you feel guided to do so, feel free to leave a review for Tamsin's book, A Reindeer's Christmas, or you can actually purchase, and we're going to talk about this momentarily, but Tamsin's other new release, Phoebe Stropalot. So just remember those two names, Phoebe Stropalot. That's one of Tamsin's other books. You can purchase it while you're at Amazon. You can also leave a 5-star review. We're going to talk about that momentarily. There's one other holiday sort of question that came to me. I always like to do my part to join hearts with the guest or guests that join me on here on the program, and to provide useful information, tips, tools, strategies, things that are tangible pieces of information that our listeners and viewers, our friends, our neighbors, our shining stars can implement right away. It may be very easy to look on the surface and say, this is going to be the worst Christmas ever. And you could easily believe that if you really wanted to kind of get into that mindset. You can say, if you're not able to spend time with your family, if you're not able to, go back home and visit loved ones, if you had recently lost your job, you can believe that, because there's a very big narrative out there. There's a lot of collective fear, It's very easy to believe that. I've been referred to as one of the biggest optimists for a long period of time. I feel that this can be the most memorable holiday season if you really allow that to happen. This goes back into the whole Christmas miracle thing that we talked about. What are some tips that you can share for our listeners, our viewers, our friends and neighbors to make this holiday season the most memorable?
Remember 2020 for the good things that you gained from it. Remember that at the beginning of the year, tomorrow was not promised. Tomorrow is never promised. It's a blessing when we get it. And if in whatever way you're able to enjoy whatever kind of Christmas you choose to have, however you choose to celebrate it, wherever you are when you celebrate it and whoever you may be with, make the most of it. Just really make the most of it. It's not about the decorations. It's not about the tree. It's not how many lights you put on the outside of your house. It's about the love and the togetherness that you feel as part of whatever family or friendship group that you have. If you have no family, reach out to friends. If you have family and you find them difficult to get along with, just reach out and be the bigger person and, make that first move. We all have been through that this year. It's been very trying times for many of us. And there's been difficulties along the way, even in our family, where, we've had to sit down and say, right, what's really important? What really matters? Being right or being together? And sometimes you have to be the one to climb down and say, yeah, I wasn't in the wrong, but what does it really matter? We're still here. We have each other. And I think that's what people really need to cling on to is we have what we have. We need to be grateful for it. We need to look back at this year, not for what we may have lost, not what the negative things were, but what we gained and what we can move forward having learned from this year and make next year better for all those reasons, no matter what we're still going through.
You know what the interesting thing is, Tamsin, and I have a smile on my face when I share this, because you know how when you're going through something and somehow you can have a smile on your face and use the phrase, when we're on the other end of this. So it's kind of like you're with your present self, but you've already in some way see the opposite, not the opposite, but see yourself, see the world on the, eventually we're going to be beyond all of this. And I envision, I don't think this is going to be dragging out into Christmas of 2021. I feel that it was kind of like, and I'll kind of use like the example of a child. When a child has his favorite toy taken away, he's upset, he's disappointed, he may throw a little hissy fit. But when he receives that toy back, he has a greater appreciation for it. He or she has a greater appreciation for it. And I kind of feel that like that's what, the certain things like going to a movie theater, right? Going to a concert, going to an outdoor water park or to a theme park, going to a sporting event. And I just found myself a couple of weeks ago at a movie theater for the first time in 2020. And I said, I'm very grateful for this. So it's so important because, again, when we take the time to, as you said, remember the good things from 2020, you take the blessings, you take the lessons, you take the treasured memories and moments, and you leave everything past. And I encourage all of our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors here this week that are tuning in on the Children's Book Spotlight Series. You don't have to wait until December 31st to do that. You don't have to ring in and sing Old Lang Syne and then say, well, to heck with 2020. If the first, 10 and a half months of your year were what they were, tomorrow is a brand new day. It may seem cliche that tomorrow is the beginning of something new. It's the beginning of the next chapter of your life. This may seem, very, spiritual woo-woo kind of thing, but it's not. It's just a matter of a shift of perspective. Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Marianne Williamson, they talk about the definition of a miracle is a shift from fear to love. And I feel that that's very important to be able to take as we move forth into the holiday season. I would be remiss if I did not mention Phoebe Strop-a-Lot, because of course this is one of your other exciting releases. For those who are tuning in this week who want to get a little bit of a sneak preview as to, they obviously have a little bit of a better idea of a Reindeer's Christmas, but to get a little sneak peek inside the pages of Phoebe Strop-a-Lot, who may find herself on Santa's naughty list.
She learns the lesson that tomorrow is the first day of the rest of her life, and she needs to make it a good one, because she can keep putting off being good until whenever, but the best time to start is right now. And Phoebe learns very quickly, with the help of a very magical little friend, that there is no time like the present to start a new beginning, to turn over a new leaf. And I think we can all take a little leaf out of Phoebe's book. It maybe doesn't mean changing our behavior in terms of being nice to people, but maybe there is something that we always think to ourselves, I'll put that off till next week, next month, after Christmas, the new year, like you said. Why wait until New Year's resolutions to make them? Why not just make it tomorrow or right now? And that's something that Phoebe does. She decides, she makes a decision that she's going to change now. She's not going to wait any longer, because you might get to a point where you find that tomorrow doesn't come, or tomorrow is too late. And you don't want to be sitting there all by yourself thinking, if only I'd done it when I had the chance. So today, right now, seize the day, carpe diem.
We've quoted a little Latin and a little St. Francis of Assisi on this week's Children's Book Spotlight series. Again, Phoebe Strop-a-Lot, a heartwarming, funny tale of redemption and forgiveness, showing that with courage and a little bit of magic, that even the worst situations can come right in the end. Which also, just something that I feel guided to share is that, again, if there's anyone in our listening, our viewing audience that are tuning into this week's edition of the Children's Book Spotlight Series, and if you happen to be moving through some sort of a challenge or a difficulty or an obstacle, keep the faith, stay the course. Things very much have a way of working themselves out in the process. Of course, as you all know, one of our favorite segments here on the Children's Book Spotlight Series, and we're going to put these out more into the collective perspective, not to say that you don't deserve 3 wishes once again, Tamsin, because of course you do. Here at the Children's Book Spotlight Series, we love to be able to help those that come aboard the program, help to bring their heartfelt wishes and desires into reality. Again, you have given so much to your family, to children, parents, and families in the UK, around the world. So you're being given 3 wishes, but we're going to do a little bit of a different take on it. We're putting 3 wishes out there collectively for the planet, because it feels like the planet needs a hug. I kind of used that example when Jason Chin joined us a few weeks back on the Children's Book Spotlight Series, talking about his new book, Your Place in the Universe, courtesy of our friends and neighbors at Holiday House Publishing. So you're being gifted 3 wishes for the planet, for the collective, Tamsin, for the holidays.
Wow. Gosh, it's like having the responsibility of the universe on my shoulders. Okay, my first wish is that collectively, children everywhere receive the support that they deserve, that we as the adults support all of our children everywhere to get through not just these difficult months, but just through everything. Being a child today is not like being a child when I was a child or when my mother was a child. Times change and things are so different now. And there are so many challenges facing our children today, every day, in every circumstance they find them in. And we need to give them that support. And I hope and I pray and I wish that the children get the support that they need to help them get through to being adults and to reaching their full potential. So that's my first wish. My second wish is that all the wonderful authors out there who maybe are sitting on a story, they're keeping it hidden away in a cupboard in a notebook because they're too scared to publish it, get it out, put it down on paper, put it down on your computer, contact Jonathan and get him to publicize you and put you out there. Don't be afraid to share your stories. That's my wish, that there are people out there who have got stories that they haven't told yet. Wonderful stories, I'm sure. And we all need to encourage each other. We all need to keep that community feel going, to encourage these people who have got their stories that they haven't told yet to share them, because those stories make a difference, even if it's just to one person, and those stories need to be told. So that's my second wish. And my third wish collectively is that somebody somewhere will invent some way of me being able to eat whatever I want for Christmas and then not have to diet in January. And I think there's a lot of people who collectively would love that. So I would love to just be able to stuff my face and not have to worry about getting on the scales on January 2nd.
I think that well, two things come to mind. For wish number 3, I think that probably the closest thing that comes to mind is to release guilt and judgment, because it's very easy, like, if we're hungry and let's say, I haven't done this yet here in San Diego. It's been said that California's got authentic Mexican cuisine. I went to a Mexican restaurant with a friend of mine and I ordered salmon. I haven't had Mexican because, it's very easy to think, well, it's not the healthiest thing in the world, right? Well, release, what I tell our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors and shining stars, I tell myself. The second thing that comes to mind, and I'm actually going to be mentioning this, I think maybe this might be the first time that I'm going to be mentioning this on any episodes of the Children's Book Spotlight series of the Storytime with Mr. Jonathan. Going back to wish number 2, Tamsin, I've had a children's book that I wanted to write for probably about 2 years. And I've been getting the reminders, and I do my part to pay attention and to listen to my guidance a little bit further. So after the holidays, that is one of the things that I'm beginning. And it's not just saying I'm going to do, it's like that laundry list of things to do. And it's just like, if you say you have a laundry list, start with doing the laundry and just, I feel that one of the things that I'm putting out there collectively, in addition to what you shared about wish number 2, is that if anyone is experiencing any sort of procrastination, they have something that they want to do, even if it's just something like do the laundry or go through paperwork or, make a certain phone call or something like that, that you can do that right now, or you can do it first thing in the morning. Like, you don't necessarily have to wait any further in the process. And I forget the episode number that Tamsin had actually joined, but you can actually head back to our official website if you happen to be watching us at empoweredpublicity.com, or if you are watching us on Empowered Publicity's official Facebook page. You can check out Tamsin's first appearance on the Children's Book Spotlight series to be able to learn more about her wonderful series, Tales on Kangle for Knock Volumes 1 and Volume 2. You can purchase those via her official website. You can also leave reviews for those as well on Amazon in the process. But again, A Reindeer's Christmas, it is now available by heading over to Tamsin's official website, by heading over to Amazon.com. Again, Tamsin's website is in the comments below. You can leave a 5-star review. Such a beautiful book that's very much needed. And it's like, I'm going to share one of my other favorite illustrations as we begin to wind down our time. There's, Sean sitting by the fire, little Sean sitting by the fire, and he's got, the stockings are up and there's Christmas cards and candles, and it's that traditional Christmas sort of setting. And I encourage all of you who are tuning in this week to create that feeling within. If you want to create that in your external setting and start, to, hang up the lights and put up the decorations, you can easily do that. But to begin feeling comfortable in your own skin, to finish that full reconnection with your inner Tamsin, your inner Jonathan, your inner child that very much lies within you in the process. Because again, you will get to a point sooner versus later where, again, one of my other favorite illustrations in the book is there's this box, this gift, and it's exploding with goodness. You see the peace and you feel the peace. You see the love, you feel the love. You see and you feel the good cheer and the happiness and the hope. They're not just buzzworthy terms. It's not just spiritual woo-woo. These are things that you can welcome into your life for yourself, for the ones that you love, for those that you serve as well in the process. We are very much looking forward to next week's edition of the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight Series. I'm so excited because we are close to episode number 100. But one of our favorite neighbors, you just mentioned her earlier on in our conversation here. We're going to be heading out across, well, technically, see, there was a part of me that was thinking, okay, I was in Buffalo and it's just across the Peace Bridge, and then pop on the QEW and you get to Toronto. A little further away from Toronto now, being in San Diego. But one of the most highly anticipated children's books of the holiday season, and really all of 2020, The Power of One. Lori Parks is going to be joining us as our featured guest next Monday, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific, on Monday evening, November the 23rd, just a few days before Thanksgiving. We're going to give a little bit of a preview of what you can expect. I want to, but can I? How often have you heard a child can ponder that question, or even an adult for that matter? They become lost in self-doubt and feel powerless. Nolan is one such child. His heart is calling him to find a way to help, but can one person, especially little like him, really make a difference? Through magical illustrations and limerick rhyme, the book's timeless messages will plant seeds of hope in its readers' hearts and inspire them to take action. Follow Nolan on his beautiful journey to discovering his personal power, the power that lives in each and every one of us. While you're already waiting, you can head on over to LoriParksAuthor.com as well too. But we are looking forward to that. If you missed our conversation last week with Jonathan Stutzman and Heather Fox, the award-winning author and illustrator, husband and wife tandem in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, courtesy of our friends and neighbors at Macmillan Kids, the brand new release, Santa Baby. It is now available. You can enjoy episode number 95 of the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight Series. We are very much looking forward to the coming weeks ahead as well. The return of the Empowered Publicity Story Time with Mr. Jonathan. Our next 2 episodes, we're excited to share those in just mere days. Those will be available on Empowered Publicity's YouTube channel. If you are already there, it's just a simple going to the latest video. But Lion I Am's Yummy Me Feels So Good, and one of our favorite neighbors in the area of Western New York, in Buffalo, The Green Gem, Susan Artz's The Green Gem, courtesy of our friends and neighbors at Christian Faith Publishing. Those are our next 2 episodes of the Story Time with Mr. Jonathan. If this message tonight, it is in giving that we receive, the message of a reindeer's Christmas, if it has brought hope, healing, joy, and magic into your life tonight, if you now believe in your heart that your Christmas miracle can happen, if you now believe that you can lead your life from your heart fully, you can be your authentic self, you can allow yourself to focus on how may I be of service before what's in it for me. If you feel that these messages need to be shared with someone in need, we encourage you to share episode number 96 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, any of your favorite social media platforms of choice. If you are a children's author, if you are a children's illustrator, and you would like for us to share your inspiring story, if you would like to join the Empowered Publicity family to share your inspiring story, and the release of your brand new children's book in 2021 on the Children's Book Spotlight Series, We would love to be able to have you join us. You can connect with us via our official website at empoweredpublicity.com. You can take a look at the other different ways that we can be of service to you as well in the process, which includes the story time with Mr. Jonathan. If you would like for us to share your brand new children's book on the story time with Mr. Jonathan, and you would like to learn more details about that, you know where to connect with us at empoweredpublicity.com, or also any of our social media platforms. We have those in the comments below as well. It's very simple: Facebook and Instagram at Empowered Publicity, Twitter at Empowered_PR. If you would like to learn more details about our media coaching and mentoring program, if you would like to facilitate a book media tour in a city of your choosing, if you would like to create your own virtual media tour, if you're not necessarily wanting to travel and you're unable to travel and you still want to share the message of your book, whether you are a children's author or an inspirational or a spiritual author, we encourage all of you to be able to connect with us, if you feel guided to do so, at empoweredpublicity.com to schedule your courtesy discovery call and to see how we can be of service to you leading into the holiday season and into the first quarter of the brand new year. Once again, one final time, the brand new release, A Reindeer's Christmas. It is now available courtesy of one of our favorite neighbors, Tamsin Wood. You can head on over to her official website on canglefordknock.co.uk. You can also head on over to amazon.com. While there, you can leave a 5-star review for any of Tamsin's children's books in the process. The one last thing that I did want to mention is we are so happy, we are so grateful for one of our newest neighbors, Keely Connor Lonning. Over the past several weeks here at Empowered Publicity, we've been sharing on the Children's Book Spotlight Series some of her fantastic children's books. And one of the things that she has just released is a brand new keepsake journal for kids and parents entitled Joyful and Grateful. And if you are a parent, if you are wanting to connect with your child on a deeper, more meaningful level, this is your go-to. This is your resource. It has 52 prompts for each week of the year to inspire more communication between yourself and your little one, and to also encourage positive mindfulness as well. If you want to help your little ones to share their interests and to process the feelings that they have, their emotions and their feelings, and to also help them build their writing skills, this is going to help tremendously. So it's not just the traditional daily gratitude entries. There's that and so much more in the process. Of course, we know the emotional benefits of journaling, of putting things from our heart to paper, from head to paper, to enhance empathy, to boosting happiness, and to raising self-esteem. So Keely has done such tremendous work. So we're going to be including the link to her official website in the comments below, as well as the keepsake journal for kids and parents, the link on Amazon where you can purchase Joyful and Grateful. It makes a great holiday gift, a great stocking stuffer, or if you want to have something for your little one to start the year off right. Our favorite neighbor, Mr. Rogers, had his favorite number of 143. Somehow he managed to weigh 143 pounds for his entire natural adult life. 143 means that I love you. We never fly alone here in the Children's Book Spotlight Series. You are not alone, especially right now leading into the holiday season. So let us remember our favorite series of numbers here on the Children's Book Spotlight Series of 243. And that means that we love you. So we want to thank all of you, once again, our friends, our neighbors, and our fellow shining stars, for tuning in to the Children's Book Spotlight Series. This has been episode number 96 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. For Tamsin Wood across the pond, for myself, Jonathan Masiulionis. We want to thank you for your support of children's authors and children's illustrators around the world. We want to thank all of you for your support of the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight Series for these past 96 episodes. But above all else, and most importantly, we want to thank all of you for doing your part and taking your time to help walk home the children of the world. We look forward to staying connected with all of you and spending some time right before Thanksgiving next week. We'll be back with episode number 97 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. But until then, have a blessed week. We'll talk to all of you once again very soon because, and it's no joke, once again, Empowered Publicity is right by the San Diego trolley. So when we say that the trolley is actually leaving, it's no joke. You could probably hear it at some point in time if you listen very closely. Again, thank you for helping to walk home the children of the world.